We'll continue with part 2 of basic typography, and we're going to now go on to tracking, but I want to show you something that we've already worked on with the font style here. So we can take this word font style and make that one a little bit bigger. I'm going to collapse our tabs here so we can make font style a little bit bigger. It's a title, so it could be bigger than the rest of it. Now I want to show you, like this right here we did with a type box. So we took the type tool and we drew a type box. I'm going to delete that one. This one up here, we just clicked the type tool and we just started typing. We did that one without a type box. So let me just show you a little bit different things that you can do here. So I can take this, I can hold shift, grab a corner and stretch it, and I can make it bigger and adjust the size of the lettering. Now with this one, with the type box, if I grab the corner and hold shift, all it's doing is adjusting the size of the box. So if you make this and you got all your tabs right and you're happy, satisfied with the way this looked, you can't make the fonts bigger by sizing up the type box here. But what you can use is the scale tool. Here's the scale tool, it's the letter S, and I will double click on that. And the one thing you need to do when you start using scaling is you need to check this right here. For some reason this is not default, but you want to check scale, stroke, and effects. Also uniform scaling if you're going to keep everything proportionally. And we'll just change this to 175. You can preview to see how it looks, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit OK. So now we sized our font style up a little bit here. Now it's encroaching on some of this other space, and our negative space isn't looking quite as good as it did before, so I'm going to reduce the size a little bit here, and I'll put in 90, and let's go about here and hit OK. So now we gain back some of our negative space that we lost here. So that looks pretty good. So now let's go to our tracking. I'm going to hit save, Apple S, and let's zoom in to tracking. So kerning is the space between the letters. Now tracking is it's also called letter spacing. It's not the space between the letters, it's the space of the letters, and it refers to like a group of letters or a line or a block of text. Okay, Adobe calls it tracking. Other programs like Microsoft might call it letter spacing, but tracking and letter spacing are the same thing. But don't confuse tracking or letter spacing with kerning. They're different things. Okay, go ahead and type all this stuff out. If you want to type out one using just a click and typing technique is fine. Or if you want to do the other technique where you use the type tool and you draw a box. Now the other nice thing about doing a type box is it will wrap the text for you. If you just do a click and type, every time you want to go to a next line you'll have to hit enter. But with the type box, it will hold everything and wrap the text for you. So go ahead and type these things out to make them kind of look like that. So here's tracking. There's some rules for tracking. The best looking over-tracked text, like if you're doing a masthead for a magazine or a brochure or some sort of publication design, when you over-track, it's best with all caps. Some people want to be creative with under-tracking, and under-tracking works well with upper and lowercase letters, but it usually works a lot better with serif fonts. Okay, sans serifs look pretty good at all caps when you overtrack, and sometimes serifs look good like that as well. So I've seen that work both on the serif and the serif. But under tracking, when you use a sans serif, sometimes it's hard to read what the letters are. So if we use a serif font, it makes it a little bit more readable and has kind of a clever look to it. So over tracking and under tracking, there's a couple of rules here. So we already have all this stuff done before, so we can just hit Control 0 and grab one of these things that has been done already. So let's, for this time, why don't we grab this one that is a serif font, and we'll set it right down here, and let's go ahead and type this out and say tracking. And I'll just triple click and it selects everything on there, and we'll say tracking. Notice I'm typing with upper and lower case, okay? And I know on the source it has it all in uppercase, but I type it here all in lowercase because I can change it right here to all caps. And like I said before, the reason I do that is because I can change my mind. If you hold the cap lock key, or if you hold shift at the time that you're typing it out, you cannot change your mind. You're stuck with the way that you keyed it in. But if you use that tool here in Illustrator, and all programs have their little way of making that all caps. Microsoft Word does that, and InDesign, and every program has its way of changing it to all caps. So let's go ahead and change this font to all caps, just so we can overtrack it, make it look good. I'm just kind of readjusting where these things are here. So right now I selected the baseline and that little box, the line, and the word baseline, but I also have this word tracking selected. So if I want to deselect that, I can hold shift and click on it. So now I don't have that selected anymore. Whoops. And I just said that. And I don't want that line selected. So I just held shift to deselect that baseline. So now I'm going to hopefully click this and slide it over. I did. I'm selecting these three lines here using the direct select tool, and it's not letting me do what I want to do here. There we go. So now we got this spaced out. So let's do some over tracking. So I got the word tracking, and I'm going to go to right here, set the tracking amount, and I can click on it and just arrow it up, but that takes a long time. So I can just do the down drop. I'll select 200. 200 looks pretty good, but this font here, I think I would overtrack it. I'm going to type in 300 and see how that looks. Yeah, 300 looks pretty good for overtracking this particular font. So this is overtracking. So then we can take the same thing and do the under tracking, but we're going to switch it back to upper lowercase, and we're going to under track it. Let's try under tracking at 50. And that looks pretty nice. And I did notice that it needs a little bit of kerning here. So I can click between the T and the R here, and I'm going to go to kern. And I'm just going to tuck that R a little bit better under that T. And I don't think it's under tracked quite enough. Let's try -75. Let's see. That looks pretty good. And then the over tracking, I want you to show various stages of over tracking here. And let's go ahead and change it to a sans serif, like Arial. Arial is a sans serif. So let's go ahead and change this to 100. We'll alt click and drag to make a copy of it and change this next one to 200. Alt click and drag. 300. 400, and you get the point. Make sure you type all these other elements on here. This would be a good time to hit save. But I want you to go ahead and type out all this information here. Type out this, type out this, type out these two here. Try to make your page look a lot like this section here. Oh, I didn't show you how to do these little arrows. Let me just show you that here real fast. You just take the pen tool, go here, hold shift, click there, hold shift, click there, hold shift, click there. It's a fill, so swap it to a stroke. Make it 50% black, and we can go to the stroke palette and give it some arrowheads here. And they're a little bit big. And that's that. There's one more section for this basic typography. I'd like you to make a folio page of some fonts that you like, and we'll do that next on part 3.